Hello. Hello.
Hey, how you doing today?
Hey, Andrew. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty good today. It has been an exciting couple weeks since the last time I was on the show. How you been?
I've been great too. It's been exciting all around for everybody.
Yeah. So you guys having interesting autumn weather up there?
It got into the 80s today, 89 or so. I went to the
Wow.
beach. It was very nice here. How
You
about
got
over there?
leaves. Oh, it's the Pacific Northwest. It has been a very bright, warm, and yet comfortable summer. It has been a good summer here. I mean, there has been a bit of a drought here. I mean, the area could use rain.
Yeah.
The Pacific Northwest is known, rain, 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 and clouds, clouds, and clouds. Well, it hasn't been like that over here for many, many years.
Okay. Well, for those just joining us, I'm speaking to Andrew Bartzis, and he is a Reiki master and shaman with the unique ability of being able to access multiple Akashic records at will. Known as the Galactic Historian, he is able to read and share individual, cultural, global, and galactic histories for those who come to him. As an active healer and psychic reader for nearly 20 years, his goal is to help the world around him by sharing information from a sacred, neutral state, by sharing the power of contract revocations. He helps individuals reclaim their sovereign free will. You can learn more about soul contracts and Andrew's work at galactichistorian.com. Welcome, Andrew.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be on the show again.
Yeah, this is great. This is for the second time. And you had a mind bending experience when you were age 9, I believe, right? That's how it
That's
all
correct.
started. Maybe just for the sake of possibly some new listeners out there, who knows? Maybe we could recount that moment where it just
Sure.
happened to you.
I was 9 years old. I went to a baseball game. Now, before I went to that baseball game, I had numerous experiences where I challenged my family with just things that would happen around. Kids always do special things. But when I went to this game, Cleveland Indians game, bottom of the ninth inning, it's a tied score, and our team hits a home run, and the stadium cheers. Everyone in the stadium, everyone outside of the stadium, thousands and thousands, 80,000 plus. At that moment of cheering, my crown chakra opened up, and everything that everyone was experiencing in that cheer came in as an Akashic record, as every person they have been in past, present, and future simultaneously entered my awareness. At that instant moment, my blissfully ignorant 9-year old awareness changed. And in that change, I began to understand we were an infinite species stuck in a finite world. And I knew I couldn't tell anyone. And for a period of 2 weeks, it was a very difficult time to adjust. But with that adjustment phase, I began to learn and study what was our real history and what was our false history, what was our sovereign destiny as individual manifesting, co creating beings of light versus those beings of stagnancy and staleness. How that those two choices are what given us at birth in what's called DNA lineage technology, our bodies, that which you have gained from your mother and father, and they have gained from their mother and father, and gained from their mother and father, is called DNA lineage technology. It is all of your memories of this lifetime, plus all of every other memories of every other lifetime you've had in it, inside your DNA. And then everyone else who is in your DNA lineage, their memories are also in your DNA. So we live at a time where the search in the self is to find your own memories, this lifetime and past, present, and future, and then begin to filter out whose other experiences you may have bled over to, or what are these wonderful experiences trying to teach you. Because that is our legacy to a species, that all of the wisdom that it took to resolve karma over 54 million years was figured out through DNA lineage technology. And those of us that have been a choice to be in a part of this galactic ascension machine, which is where we chose to have an end to all karma as a concept and to bring it to zero balance.
Wow. I was reviewing the last time you were on, and I'd ask a question and you'd give me an answer, and then I was even more confused. I remember that it was just like, okay, wait a minute. I asked you what I thought was a relatively simple question, well, at least to my knowledge, and then you gave me an answer that I was like, what? Wait, wait a minute, I need to ask another question just so I can understand your answer. And then I went back and looked at some of the videos, I guess a talk you did with, I forgot his name, an older gentleman.
Lance White?
Lance White. And I only got up to like 12 or 13 because the information is just so mind-blowing.
Multi-dimensional.
Yes, that you're just like, okay, what?
That's the nature of the world that I lived in. Everything is a stream of infinite information.
Yeah.
And we always have availability to the synopsis in our native residual language,
Right.
which is for English for us, French and German and Spanish for others, and some languages have advantages over others. Right now we're at a time where us, the free-willed beings, who via propaganda have been put into a nation that has an amalgamation of all other nations and DNA lineages, we're here to do the final acceptance of what free will is. What is government to us? If we had 2% of our past lives available to us, or 1%, would we need a government? Would we make the same mistakes on boyfriends and girlfriends?
Right.
No, because we'd have the best choices, the best experiences in our memories.
Yeah. I mean, this information, though, must be overwhelming for you. I mean, how do you deal with this?
I've been doing this since I was a kid. It's like a track car driver driving in traffic. You just slow down.
Yeah.
And you process. And you're going to get there when you get there. You know, I perceive things in what's called no time, where I don't agree to the physical concept that we have time, Pacific time, Eastern time, daylight time,
Right.
Bali time, Germany time. It's all social agreement.
Yeah.
When our mind does not have to process the social agreement of time, we get a much broader spectrum of understanding of all the information that doesn't have time as an applicable part of its equation.
So, I did get some questions from some people, and myself, and some. I asked my daughter too. I was like, she's 15, and I thought, see if she can understand this stuff. She wanted to know, reincarnation, does it exist?
Oh, absolutely it exists. And it's a forced system of reincarnation where when a soul doesn't want to go through a series of experiences, it goes into an unawareness phase where every life that you're born, you don't remember any of your past lives. And as soon as you die, you have a limited past life review of what you just did this last lifetime and your main mistakes. And then you're right again back in a fetus with very little no time on the other side before you get to meet your soul family and plan a future life that is much more rich and enduring, which would be an incarnation, where you're the active planner of sovereign free will before your life to interact with other soul family and non-soul family members to make known the unknown, to see what has never been seen before, or to make love or unity or anything else that falls within sovereign free will.
Yeah. What about past lives? I guess she wanted to know what she was in a past life, like her ancestors. What part of Africa did she come from? What part of what was her story?
That's a reading question, and I generally need the person in front of me to do readings. I don't read through another person, though I have done it.
Yeah.
It's a significant focus. What I can do is I can do a more closer reading of you, and then she can distill the information from that.
Okay, yeah. Do one of me if you would.
All right. What I need you to do is tell me about your first 10 minutes of the day. Did you, like 30 or 40 seconds out loud? What I'm doing is tuning into the dreaming person that is you.
Okay.
And how you land into your physical body and readapt to being in time in the I am presence.
Okay.
That being that is awake here, because you are a being of no separation and separation, but there is a moment where the infinite crosses over into the finite equation, and there's a specific Akashic record that tells who you are, what you've been doing, and what your purpose here is.
Okay, so you want to know what I did when I woke up?
When you first woke up, did you rub your eyes, pet your cat, fart in the corner under the covers?
I woke up and I think I looked at the clock, and then I got out and went to my car and drove away. And then I...
within 10 minutes?
Yeah, within 10 minutes, because I had to get out of where I was. I'm sort of homeless right now. But that's another question. It's another story. I mean,
You're still working though.
yeah,
You're still coming on the radio. That's a tough one.
yeah.
All right, so hold on, tuning in. The last lifetime that makes significant difference for you. You were part of World War I and World War II, which are part of the reincarnation war grid.
Oh.
So you didn't live very long. And you would take over, you'd walk into other lifetimes during other soldiers who were giving up on life before the bomb came and hit them. Or you were the one that jumped into the body when they were recovering from wounds until they decided if they wanted to come back in. And you trade yourself amongst several dozen different soul families to make sure that some of the more older souls actually had a chance of surviving in the next generation.
That's why I did that.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering why I would do that. Just to make sure that their soul family is okay, or
They were your soul family first.
Oh.
You have a really big soul family.
Okay.
This is I see this commonly in people that are falling into the male patriot programming, because your main soul frequency is the Civil War in America.
Really?
You came in as a French citizen, joined the American Civil War,
Okay.
died here on the soil, and then were reborn here in a new lineage, as part of a choice, as many millions of other people were doing this. And the lineage that you were reborn in was an Irish and Mohawk Indian.
Mm.
So you had a tremendous amount of Druid connection in the DNA lineage and a tremendous amount of Mohawk Indian connection. And this is during the American Civil War, where you're in your second incarnation in that lineage. And this is where your DNA lineage technology came to be quite advantageous for you. Look, what is this life about? You start out as a trapper, and then you make it to Lake Ontario, Lake Erie.
Wow.
Lake Erie, looks like into Michigan, down the Mississippi to Tennessee. And you're trading precious gemstones instead of just furs. These are things that were discovered. There were other, how do we put this? People that you were paying for that were going and looking and looting sacred mounds. So this is the lifetime where the curse of the conquistador came through. This is a reincarnation thing. This means when you are actively searching for the sacred artifacts of another place, there's another side of you that's making sure that those sacred artifacts are going someplace to be held for a future generation. So this is a mix of a light and a dark thing. This is how the Mohawk blood and how the Irish blood came to karmic resolution in a DNA lineage body. And this is very, very significant for you, because this indicates the last time you were in the inactive reincarnation phase, meaning you had turned your light out on this world for a while, and you'd left yourself in the dream space world just as a way shower and a pointer. While you were on the other side, letting the last of your soul shard go through its experience here, there was another version of yourself that was experiencing the Orion Gray interactions. And this is how Orions and Greys came to Earth in the late 1940s. This is where your active part of yourself is coming here to claim its soul family and its soul shard. And this is the more macro expression of the patriot concept that you've gone through in your life. And this is like a galactic patriot who's repatriating the soul family of millions, and billions, in fact, who are unable to get here to Earth, which is a natural migration point of how people interact on a soul family level to search or experience it throughout the many realities spread throughout the universes.
Wow. Okay.
You go back to before the Mohawk and Irish, you are part of the island of Crete at about 1600 to 1690. It looks like you're part of the original foundations of the Knights of Columbus. a religious banking organization that created an interest economy in the Aegean Ocean, interest having not been introduced before, to limit the amount of travel between countries. This is when you were in the reincarnation phase and when you were not such a nice guy.
Oh.
In this part of the world, in this part of life, we are everything. We are the past, the present, the future. You've been the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the prince, the princess, the lover, the star-crossed lover, the scientist, the pope. You've been it all.
I was a
And
pope?
now at the end, you're going to go, what can I do that is new?
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely new.
yeah.
And as I'm looking at these, I'm looking for the patterns of the person that awoke from a dream world and rushed within 10 minutes to go and find someplace else to park his car. Okay?
Yeah.
So the patterns that I'm particularly seeing here that are coming through are karmic retribution. Karmic retribution for working in the system of domination and control in an awareness phase. That means there was another version of yourself who became aware of esoteric concepts, that there was future versions of us and that we could communicate to them. And you became well practiced at that. And I've run into this frequently. This from everyone from the highest levels of bankings and media to the lowest person on the street have this karma. But resolving it in a lifetime means you come to the deep understanding that it is a debt. And this life is 100% sovereign free will, and you never have to take on the debt of another version of yourself. So your choice here is free will or tacit consent for something else to create a life pattern for you, which is the world that you're living in. I mean, I'm sure you've heard people say, you know, get a job, suck it up, do this, do that. But if you're not following your heart and you're not being happy, you're entrapped. You're enslaved. Or worse, you're uncreative and docile. And when you're uncreative and docile is when the whispers of do this, do that come. And you don't want those whispers. You want to be heard as a voice, as a person, as a human being that says we can all come together in unity. We can all learn how to share food on a global source. We all can write laws that don't take any kind of exchange or energy or money from us without an injured party. The most common sense and obvious rules of law to be reapplied with the sacred heart space. That was your whole purpose of immigrating from the European soul families into the American soul families, was to know for the world to come together that everyone in the world must learn all the lessons. And when all the lessons are shared in the DNA lineage technology that's common to everyone on this planet, we come to a moment where inner understanding is your self-sovereign, free-willed expression to who I am, what I am, and to the knowingness that you are more than you've heard, read, or studied.
You said I have a large soul family. What does that mean?
That means you've reached a soul density that you can be involved in 10, 12, 50, or 1,000 soul families simultaneously. That means your soul density has reached a point where it can make multiple versions of itself and simultaneously run in this world, other paradoxes, other timelines, other galaxies, and other universes. That you are just a part of a big whole giant hive mind of yourself, experiencing millions of things simultaneously. And you've been given the sovereign free will to become aware of all of those things and to do with sovereign free will and become greater than it, or merge with it, or co-create with it, or forget that it's there.
The sovereign free will thing, does this have anything to do with the free man on the land kind of movement?
It can. The original concept of the free man of the land is really about you have to have an injured party. You have to have a warrant. You have to have a judge that is honorable. You have to have a state that's represented by a prosecutor that has an oath and a bond. That's one of the most basic understandings of free man of the land. Means you can travel from point A to point B and not be accosted by a costumed agent with a badge who believes they have power.
Right.
That was the old days. We live like that right now. Your local police officers are corporate police officers with no oath, with no bond. The same thing with the senators, the governors, the judges, the clerks of courts, all of the ones betraying the fraud, portraying and betraying us, the fraud of the mortgage scam. We know for a fact that MERS was a giant scam. We know for a fact that judges are denying paperwork, that pro se litigants have like a 3% success rate and a 97% failure rate for the last 15 years straight. And a pro se litigant is a person that is self-informed with the law and the procedures.
Mm-hmm.
And you can. The freemen of the land movement, it is much more. It has a sovereign expression that has a spiritual expression that says, I wish to practice my belief in co-creation with everyone else and not be harmful to any part of this world, to share in science and spirituality and technology and find a harmonious way for everyone to live. Spiritual people have been thinking of this utopia for eons. Even the 3D business matrix people want that also. But what they don't see is how to make a leap from dollar bills to true human exchange of energy and sweat equity. In the old days, do you remember what it was like, really old days? The handshake really meant a lot.
Right.
And out where I came from, it meant a lot. I mean, I grew up, 5 miles from the city, but it was all 3-acre lots in the middle of horse country.
Yeah. Seems we've lost a lot of that realness. Right. Now it's sort of like, oh, well, it was raining that day, so that's why I didn't do what I agreed to do. There's a little bit of flakiness going on.
Well, the slave society that we live in, and this is something that very much your soul is here to resolve, how not to be a slave, how not to be a part of a system, and yet still co-create a life path that doesn't put you in the eyesights of the system, so you must be forced to create karma or resolve karma. You want to be a neutral being, meaning you can live here and not affect anyone else in the world and yet still affect the world for positive change.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want war. You don't want hatred. You don't want ignorance and bigotry and intolerance. What you want is every soul to see some truth. And what is truth? Your side, their side, bias, and then there's the truth.
Right.
We all look at it as for what it is. Not for what it means to a faction or a political movement, but what it means is the individual sovereign soul incarnating in this world who is beginning to be awake to the fact that their past lives are very much a part of this present life. And until they choose to shut down the system of karmic resolution, live in the moment, let go of debt that's been created by ink and paper or digital dollars, because they're just creations of the mind.
Yeah. That kind of describes me, I think, pretty well, especially lately, past few years at least. And maybe even when I was younger, if I think back, I've always been kind of a person who kind of stays above the fray, taking sort of like a big picture look on things and, not getting my hands dirty, just kind of looking from above and saying, oh, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to set foot in there.
That's one of the first things I did as a child, right after I was 9 years old, and I began looking at what the skills were and what they meant and how I can read things. And I would go from the highest perspective of understanding, even if it didn't make sense to me. So I could see from the planetary perspective of how our world was working together and not working together. That's where I made associations to the ley lines and planetary grids and fake planetary grids that are out there that are confusing people into false realities, facades, and frauds, such as the concept of a corporate government with Federal Reserve notes that have interest on them from the day that they are born out of a digital mind. For every dollar we create, we lose 7 cents on it. Cost us $1.07.
Right. Well, just if anybody has bought a house, they'll know of the fraud. I mean, the amount of interest is, I don't know how people do it. I mean, I don't know how I did it.
They securitize everything. That's how they do it.
I told my wife, I said, don't don't read it. Otherwise, you're never going to sign this thing.
Everything that they're sending you is a contract. This is why spiritual contract removal at this slice of time is so vital for people. When that debt comes to you, that bill collector comes to you, he is a third party person saying you owe someone money. He is a shakedown guy. He has no legal authority at all. Anything he sends you is a contract of energy saying you're putting your signature, which is your value in this world of slaves.
Yeah. Have you heard of the whole secured party creditor thing?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of the secured party. I've been doing a lot of work with the private attorney generals, Rod Class, the International Tribunal on Natural Justice with New Earth Nation. We're doing a webinar this Sunday, the 31st at 5 p.m. You can go to my website, Galactic Historian, or adventuresintosovereignty.com, and you'll see a webpage that has the sign up for the webinar. I've been doing this work because I believe it is just as vitally important that spiritual people that are working to understand their soul know that you can save your house by picking up one book and learning some procedures. Like every time they send you a letter, say, unable to deliver, return to trustee. For every debt that ever comes to you, you keep returning that.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the trustee? The bank is the trustee, and they're using a third-party debt collector to do what to you? Steal your money, steal your confidence, steal your faith, steal your home. So what happens? That the system will then create your life for you through hard knocks, through homeless shelters, through going into the crappiest rental apartments out there until you're in karmic resolution, because your soul, that's the only way it can do, is to come in balance with the system and be in tacit consent with whatever it does, so your life comes back to normalcy.
Yeah, and most people don't know these things, and if they do, are so fearful of the consequences of them not paying their mortgage or their bills that they don't dare do anything different.
What you can do is go to my my YouTube page. There's a whole bunch of New Earth Nation shows. There's a law and sovereignty show called Adventures into Sovereignty. There's 8 episodes, and you can see one episode called How to Hold the Corrupt Courts Accountable. It is myself, Rebecca Cope, and Rod Class. Rod Class is a constitutional bounty hunter, a private attorney general. What a constitutional bounty hunter is in the constitutional bounty hunter law in 1867 was passed that says if there are corrupt judges throughout the country, that citizens who are private attorney generals can pull them off of the bench and bring them to an administrative court to ask them why the rule of law or the Constitution doesn't apply to their court. And this was to stop desperate court creations throughout the creations of the new territories. And then he has 8 letters of marque that have been endorsed by different members of Congress. That means he's there to resolve the fraud on a constitutional level. He is not a practicing lawyer or a bar in any way, shape, or form. He's what every citizen in the United States can be, a private attorney general, by filling out some simple paperwork and going to the Congress and having them stamp it, which they must because it is their law.
Yeah. It's just amazing how much stuff is out there that people don't know anything about, including myself. I mean, this information you're giving me right now, and it's just an incredible education that we're getting in school, or everybody's brought up a certain way, and it seems like the box has been fitted for us as to how much learning you can receive, how much you are supposed to know. The fact that we only use about 10% of our brain capacity,
6 or 7%,
6 or 7%. That is phenomenal to me as well. I mean, what is the other percent? If we had full use of our brain, what would we be able to do?
Access your past life memories of all the mistakes that you've made before with all other soul family or non-soul family members you lived with. So every time you're walking through society and you're encountering people, you're seeing a color hue of if they are in karmic resolution or karmic, non-karmic creation. It means they're there to do the good work, to be of service to others, and that in co-creation is where you can do something that your soul has never done before, have a brand new experience in love, in wealth, in abundance, in union and communion, or in creativity of the mind and philosophy, to come together and write true philosophy that changes the concepts of perspectives globally.
Wow. So I have some more questions. Let's see. I'll start off with a softball one. Who was William Shakespeare? Did that person
William Shakespeare, he's a really, really, really interesting fella.
Did he actually
William Shakespeare
exist?
is a time traveler, actually.
Oh, really?
He was a part of a mystery school of writers who were trying to make sure a specific style of language survived. Because in language is vibration and intonation that we as our ears hear differently than our mind perceives each generation. Like you hear a song of Pink Floyd, it means one thing to those of the 60s and it means another to those of the 90s.
Yeah.
And language has the same thing. And he was a part of a time traveling school that would make sure that his particular style and language survived far into the future. Why? Because it has a vibration and an intonation of hierarchical order that helps the mind put together who's in charge of the fraud that's this massive play of the whole world.
I've heard stories that Sir Francis Bacon was actually William Shakespeare.
No, William Shakespeare was his own person. He was a creation through history and through time travel, a myth. Like if I were to go back into time 1,000 years ago and write my name on a wall and say Brattleboro Radio, 3 p.m. Pacific time, the 26th on the 2014, and 1,000 years later, somebody finds it and they go, hey, they're going to be on Brattleboro Radio. We are a living myth. And Shakespeare well knew that. Writings makes you a living myth. As long as there are people reading it in each generation, you jump time.
All right. Got some more questions for you. So if we only use a small percentage of our brain, 6%, that's what you're saying, how can we access more?
Clearing your field of the perception of information that's in front of you. Calming the mind from the alpha state to the theta to the delta to know that there are different states of mind. And there are thousands of schools of philosophy and meditation and spirituality and ritualism and ceremonies that teach people how to go from alpha to theta, or how to stay into alpha, which is the high frequency brain, so you're actively searching for information that makes sense to this presence. Or you relax the mind, the body, the spirit, and you go into the heart and you allow the information in silence to be almost a download. So when you come out of that meditation, you have a new understanding of the perception that you're in. Or you're one of those that is actively seeking experiences and creating experiences, whether it's through ceremony and ritual or plant medicine, to aid you to see that the two worlds are not separate, but one layered over the other. And how we interact with this world as we recede back into it, as the system says, if you want to be here in this world, in the now of this timeline, you must adhere by some of the most simple, basic sacred geometry rules. Dream within your city limits. Do not dream in your natural world. And we can do both. That is our way out of the sacred geometry dream world we created to keep us within cities. That is what took us out of the natural living land, so that cities were created by the ocean, so they go through cyclical destruction.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got? Is the Earth hollow?
Yeah, I've actually done a couple different shows on the hollow Earth. All the space between atoms is infinite. So there's an answer. Yes, there's a quantum hollow Earth. Is it physically hollow? When we change our perception from physical matter and physical density, it is hollow. When we are just beings of energy, it is hollow and waiting to be impressed with a residual image that allows us to create all those things that have been lived here on this world before and are now extinct. So all those species that have gone through extinctions live in the hollow Earth, as our great ancestors who are holding space for one day that their DNA may come back to the surface through natural creation and co-creation between souls who want to create crossbreeding on a soul level.
Are there cities down there? And
Oh, yes, ancient ancestral cities to all of the major religions, organizations. Why? It is where we look for our ancestors who are choosing not to be a part of this expression. They have reached their completion, their extinction, their full contracts with this planet have come to an end. They have completed an extinction phase and live in the hollow earth. And we can commune with the hollow earth beings because they are also those that have graduated and completed their purpose. And they are separate from us now so that we complete our purpose, our concept, without influence from their purpose or concept. So that in separation, we realize we've all come to the same infinite source end, that we are all unified beings of creation.
okay.
If somebody would like to go and get more information on the Hollow Earth, you can go to the New Earth Nation YouTube page. Just type in New Earth Nation, and you scroll down past the Law and Sovereignty shows. You'll see 2 shows that I did with Sasha Stone, Bill Donovan, Dan Winters, and the big Hollow Earth guy. I forgot his name. I do shows with him frequently.
I remember there was supposed to be an expedition to go to the Hollow Earth that was called
That's
off
correct.
a couple times. Do you know if it's still on or?
No, it is not still on. That was actually the same person I'm talking about. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Brooks Agnew. That's his name.
Right. That's the guy.
Dr. Brooks Agnew. Anyway, so it is not still on. They were not able to get the actual icebreaker that they wanted to because they had to plan 18 months ahead of time, and there were no icebreakers that were going to go that direction.
Yeah.
They were then going to try to parachute in or hike and kayak in, and no date has been set for that right now because it is too difficult to plan 16, 18 months ahead of time.
What about going through another access point in the Earth?
You would have to go to Antarctica or any of the other military bases that have the access points, on top of them. Antarctica is just as difficult to get to.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to go through the clowns at the doorway at McMurdo who won't let anyone go and explore anything over there.
Yeah. So the powers that be, shall we say, they know where all these entrances are.
There are entrances that they don't know about.
Yeah.
And those are the ones where places like Shangri-La exist, or other cities, other portals, other entrances, such as the Hopis.
Yeah.
Or those of the Incas and the Nazcas and the Peruvians. Those are doorways and entrances into those hollow worlds that lead into tunnels that were meant for human beings to go into during times of planetary invasion. They were the underground protective tunnel, the fortification system. And these are the same tunnels that Moses, in biblical expression, used to travel from place to place to place. It was how they could go because they didn't travel the desert for 40 years. I know there may be people that have a tough time with that. They didn't travel the desert. They were underground in those tunnels, in the legacy of what was left to all those people of that area, a chance to survive.
Okay. I learned something new minute by minute with you.
It's the very nature.
Oh my goodness. It's like, where do I start? Okay. How about this one? Is the moon real or is it artificial?
Oh, wow. I've talked about the moon so many times. Oh, wow. The moon is a real moon. It's one of the oldest objects in our existing universe, and it is a marker place. It is a hollow moon. It does have what's called a unity consciousness drive. So if there's a unity species living on the surface or in the hollow, it can move. But it's not currently moving because it's acting like a massive United Nations for the inter-universal community to come here and witness through experiential observation of what is going on Earth. It is essentially the pay-per-view audience to see how we go through change. And if other beings in other universes want to use what we've done here as a template to create even deeper change in their own expressions. The moon has been battled over for millions of years because they knew deep in the future it would be used as this observational post for universal beings and trying to understand what was going on in all these time war expressions we had.
Okay. Um, hey, let's take a short break here. We're getting close to top of the hour. I'm speaking to Andrew Bartzis, and he's a galactic historian. Play a little music here. Let's get Andrew back in here. Andrew?
Yep, I am here. How you doing?
I'm good. I have a caller who wants to ask you a question. Caller, are you still there?
Yeah.
All right. We're live now, and thanks for calling. What's your name, sir?
My name is Scott.
Hi, Scott. And you have
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Good.
you have a question for Andrew.
Yes. What about simultaneous reincarnation?
Simultaneous reincarnation happens frequently. When I was trying to explain to Dan before about what he was doing in the war scenario, he could break himself into 6 or 7 or 8 master pieces and live inside multiple bodies that were dying and or healing, waiting for the walk-in, walk-out phase to happen. And that's a significant part of the dual, triple, or septuple reincarnation phase that most people went through at the beginning of the Spanish influenza. The Spanish influenza targeted the master members or the breeding members of soul family, and as soon as they got kicked out, whole bunches of spiritual contracts broke down, which put people into double or triple reincarnation. So you could have a life where you're moving to America, and another life where you're an 80-year-old woman in the south of France with an abusive husband, and another life where you're an Aboriginal person walking the land in Australia, never seeing a human being, even in the another British person, even in the 1900s. So yes, dual multiple reincarnation is like that, which leads the soul to a much higher frequency of karmic resolution at a future date, because so much of what you've completed as the foundational of resolution was done. You've gone into the deepest depths of expression of the soul to find out what a lack and abundance, what those truly mean to the value of the soul versus those that are inheriting debt in the reincarnation phase, or a part of ancestral lineages that have family crests that create specialized debt where lifetimes become very horrid, or put you into scenarios where you give away more and more of your free will by being a part of a government or a kingship or lordship or military faction that puts people into deep karmic resolution by the choice of hierarchical order.
So if you were a traveler, you might meet yourself.
Oh, frequently. Honestly, many people have probably met themselves at least once per lifetime.
Is that something that you're consciously trying to do?
One part of you is, and the other part of you is in unawareness. That would be the whole point of meeting yourself. That an aware side of you that became aware of that you're a being that wants to go and meet an unaware version of yourself somewhere in your time stream so you can change something about yourself.
So, I mean, you said something about, I think you're like not in the linear time.
No, and it's called no time.
Right. So
the past is old, but the future is ancient, and our ancient selves are lived deep in the future, and they are observing us as well as our past selves, and we are the presence that connects those two perspectives so that they have a stream of continuous translation of why the future is ancient and why the past is old, and it's only the present that will redefine the past and future's ability to communicate to us in sovereignty without violating our free will of doing what it is we need to do this lifetime.
So do you think you could go in one reincarnation to yourself simultaneously in another reincarnation to help that other reincarnation along by giving it information that it needs? Is that
Well,
something that
that's called a double reincarnation. That would put you into a much higher negative karmic resolution. What most souls do come in as an incarnating. One's in reincarnation, another part of them is a free-willed incarnator. And once they incarnate and go through the blissfully ignorant states into some sort of awakened awareness, then they look for their other selves. Um, Sometimes begrudgingly or longingly because they don't know what it is they're looking for. But if they have been well trained in the esoteric arts of self-signature frequency and knowing who you are, and then how you look into your own personal memories of what you did when you were 13, 15, 6, or at your third birthday, you have complete control over your own memories. And so many people that they tell me they forgot so much vast parts of their childhood, and I tell them no, they didn't. They're all still there. They're just blocked out.
Yeah.
And when the active participant in the esoteric expression says, I am not blocking that out, and I'm going to try to remember what I did in the month of August 1977, I may not be accurate, but I at least have a compass heading. And from that compass heading, we can look for versions of ourselves who are unaware, who need our love, our presence, our space, and our knowledge, because you can communicate to that person in 1977 who may have gone through some horrible trauma, or maybe the best day of his life, or it was just another day of flipping burgers. And that was a perfect opportunity for that future person to whisper at a quiet mind flipping the burgers.
Well, there's another reason that I asked too, and that's because I realized that since the beginning of this country, 1776, there has only been, if you take 80 years old as a lifetime, only 3 lives consecutively.
3 generations, correct.
Yeah, well, not.
But remember, there were 3 generations that existed here on Turtle Island before we arrived. That's called DNA lineage technology. This is where all of the different DNA lineages and races came together in this concept of America, which was going to be a corporate government in 2014. And there were many, many, many shamans and fortune tellers and people of wisdom that knew this. Even our founding fathers knew this. Our preamble to the Constitution is a spendthrift trust.
Can I ask you, if you're curious and you have time, if I were to give the announcer the site where my art is, I would be interested to see what you think when you look at it.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want me to say it over there, or
if you want to? Or...
Sure. My work is at ScottsArt, SCOTSART.net, and I work with symbols from different cultures, and I do a lot of public art. And I'm really interested in this conversation, and I've had some unusual experiences in my travels in the different parts of the planet. So it's very interesting to me. I want to thank you, for answering my question for me.
Thank you, Scott, for calling.
I'd really be interested to see what your reaction is, to my work.
All right, I'll have to do it at another time. It's just jumping on a live show to go look at some art. I really can't do that. But at a further time, I can have the host get a hold of you or send him your email, and then I can send something back to you.
Yeah, it's right on there. If you go to that thing, ScottsArt.net, there's an email right on there. And
oh wait, I think I know who this is.
It'll be Scott.
It's your friendly neighborhood mural painter.
Graffiti artist. Yeah, you do some great stuff. I've seen his art. It's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of stuff from different cultures. But anyway, I don't want to get off too much because let's keep this guy talking.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, when I get into it, I get into it. It's reincarnation is really. It took me almost probably 5 years, from age 9 to 14, 15, before I really understood what what the reincarnation grid is, how the archons have control over how we migrate and become part of this world.
Hold on, Andrew. I got another call here. VW, would you like to go on the air?
Archons have control over how we
Andrew?
migrate.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh.
Hold on, Andrew. I got another call here.
Hello, ma'am?
Yes, hi.
Hi, could you turn down your radio? I think I hear an echo.
Yeah, I was just working on that. Is that better?
That's good. Thanks. Who is this?
This is Deanna from New Jersey.
Hi, Deanna.
Hello.
You're calling from New Jersey?
Yes.
All right. And you have a question for Andrew?
I do.
All right.
How are you doing today?
Pardon?
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good today. Having a fun time on Brattleboro radio here. So what's your question?
My question is, I heard on one of your shows to do sacred art, like drawing your face or your hand or combining the two, or either that or when you say talking to the fire, what do you, like just have a little campfire or a candle and say...
Well, it's got to be I'm talking specifically about the system of talking your story to the fire. Mm-hmm. That is more of not a candle. It's something that actually is like a twig fire or an actual outdoor and indoor fire that can burn for an hour or two without you having to put any wood on it. That gives you the opportunity to create a sacred space of self-trust so you can begin the process of delineating your own memories this lifetime. And looking for those blank spots where age 21, I don't remember what I did between March and February, or the next year. There's a whole blank spot. But if you begin to recall your life from now until the beginning and make as many notes as you can, so when you sit down in front of that fire, you tell it like that story to a friend you haven't seen in 40 years. So that fire knows absolutely everything about you, and it is not judging you in anything, even when we color our own personal stories. And when you've completed telling your whole story, all the parts, and then acknowledging there are parts that are very difficult for you to remember and that you don't want to go into, and once you go to those parts and identify their existence, you become one with the fire and can call upon it even when it's not there. That is one of the most basic inductions into fire shamanism, where you have sacred space and sacred trust with yourself in the element of earth, in warmth of the fire. The wood that is a part of it, that is sacred, that has your prayers of protection in it, so that we are separate of the system and domination and control, and just in the communion and union, in the placenta of the great mystery, connected to the universe.
Because one time I was at a friend's house and we blazed a little, and I was nodding off by her fireplace, and in the flames I swear I saw the element of fire to a fire being saying, "Make yourself," and I kind of raised up, looked at him like, "What?" And
make yourself. That's very common for fire beings to speak that. Why? Because that's called the fires of creation. It's where the infinite ember, that is us, that our soul is holding this ember so that it'll create a little flame. That's that spark, that's the I am presence. And we are cupping our flame with our soul inside our body, so that flame becomes a great fire of knowledge and wisdom, so that we truly know that we are more than we've heard, read, or studied, so that we know we are one with the earth and the element, and that everyone shares dream space. Everyone is a neighbor to everyone else because there is no ownership of the land. We're all stewards of this world, and when we take our duty as stewards of this world and stewards of the plants and the animals and the suns and the stars and our own beliefs into what can manifest and create true freedom for our species, it takes people of trust for that to happen. People of knowledge, people of leadership, and people who have learned from the school of hard knocks what abuse means, what it really means, so those that were the abusers get proper justness. Not justice, because justice is blind. Justness is the right and perfect resolution to the energy that was exchanged between the experience of the abuse. so that we do not co-create more abusers for more future lifetimes.
Okay. Thank you. Got goosebumps. And what of several about half a year ago, I heard you speak to someone, a caller, about drawing your face or hand on the face and doing like swirls or something psychedelic. 'Cause I'm paraphrasing.
I don't think I've ever really told anyone to paint their hand on their face. I think I was talking about a face painting procedure where when you look at yourself in the mirror in ceremonial expressions of black and white, where you learn to balance the shadows of your eyes and the whites of your face with colors over your different focal points of energy on the face. Not a clown or a mime. It's more of an outline that during ceremonial times, those parts of the energy system would express more. This is why different antelope clans would wear an antelope scalp and with the horns and the head attached to it as a hood, or a bear cloak or something to that effect. That means that parts of their expression were connecting with the animal totem that they were wearing on their skin.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you for that call.
Good night.
Okay. Wow. Calling from all over the place.
Yeah, I've crashed a few phone systems.
Oh, that's great. It's fun. It makes it, an interactive, multimedia frenzy, which is fun.
Exactly. And when people get introduced to me, I don't just do the psychic material. I don't just do that. I do a tremendous amount of material on law and sovereignty, on all sorts of different topics, interview, comedies. And the answer to why I do so much, we're unlimited beings.
Yeah.
And for me to be just one thing would be totally against what the Galactic historian is. We're all sacred neutral witnesses of what's going on. And we are active participants in it too. Learning how to be a neutral participant in a process is the very nature of all of our expressions. And for me to express my own belief of what I've learned from my own expression and understanding of my genetic history, my soul family history, and the dreams and the different dream worlds that I visited during my lifetime here, has led me to an understanding that there's a great movement to create an end to everything that we are resolving here. And that movement is now in the sovereignty movement.
Yeah.
Sovereignty of spirit and sovereignty of law.
Now you say you're into comedy. Do you have a stand-up routine?
No, I tried to introduce comedy at all levels. Everything is achieved with a light heart. The greatest of visions are done with a light heart.
Mm.
You ever just been in a creational process and somebody throws in a joke that just helps it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
Here's one. There's two ascended masters are talking to each other, and one says to the other, it goes, how many ascended masters does it take to change a light bulb?
Right.
And the other ascended master says, none. It's the light worker's job.
Oh. I thought he was going to say something like there is no light bulb or something.
There is no light bulb. There is no spoon. It is all an illusion. It's all a fraud, metered by the system of domination and control so they can take your energy.
All right, I have another question. I have so many. All right. How about did Neil Armstrong walk on the moon? Did we ever go to the moon?
We went to the moon. And did Neil Armstrong land on the actual moon?
Yes.
Not on the actual live one. That's the better answer. But he did land on that moon.
No, wait a minute.
Not on the live one, though.
What does that mean?
They went many more times than they described.
Oh.
And what they discovered there on the moon was remnants of old civilizations that were very reflective of living here on Earth.
Mm.
They also discovered that were pockets of atmosphere on certain parts of the moon and pockets of no atmosphere, hundreds of different environmental types. Ice, they found liquid water, they even found life there, crystalline life that reflected their the peoples that were coming forth.
So the actual broadcast was fake, but they
No,
did
the
go
broadcast was live.
was live.
From an orbiter, but it wasn't the footage. The footage was prepared before they even landed.
Ah, okay. All right. Interesting stuff. How about this? Are there reptilian shapeshifters who run the world?
What's running the world really mean? There's 1,000 corporations at the top and 1%. Are they reptilian shapeshifters as the average explanation? That's an okay explanation, but we're all shapeshifters. It's the nature of being a multidimensional being. They have made an esoteric choice over many thousands of lifetimes to reflect a belief system of worship of reptiles that came from another world. So yes, there are reptilian shapeshifters, but it is their belief over many thousands of generations to be that. And they figured out how to go past the forgetting of the birth canal and have more and more of their past life memories available to them because they chose the moniker of the serpent or the reptilian shapeshifter and conqueror to be a part of their soul family expression.
Okay, I'm crossing these out. How about this one for the Holocaust deniers? Did the Holocaust happen the way it is portrayed, as that the Nazis executed systematically 6 million Jews?
I think it was a lot more than that, as well as the Germans, the Russians, the Italians, the Turks. There was a mass extinction going on then where cabal members or reptilians, like the previous questions, took over camps, and there were unawareness to the larger population of what was going on. Much of what is being played out in our society now, where there are factions within factions that are running rogue and doing things that the other factions don't know about that cause great strife. So the bankers can go fund a war in an area, so they can steal the natural resources, so that everyone is on the petrodollar, and not gold-backed dollar. So that is the answer. Yes, that exists and continues to exist now.
Well, okay, but did the Nazis specifically do it for that period of time? I know you're not bound by time, but
well, no, they were very much a part of that. But the numbers or explained are greatly depreciated. The numbers are much higher. And it isn't just Jews.
Right.
The Basques, certain parts of Spanish, because genetic testing was available then. And what they were doing is trying to create a master race, which is a single set groups of soul families that are in alignment with the system of domination and control. So only those in that Third Reich concept would be able to incarnate in this spiritual world. So it is as much a spiritual battle as it was a physical battle. And the expulsion and murder of all of those people was to make sure that they didn't have a spot here at the end when there would be 7 billion, 300 million human beings trying to figure out how to all work together.
Right.
It was a cleansing of the systems and skin suits that we've incarnated in.
Okay. How about lately? Have you heard of this author Hilton Hotema?
No, I can't say that I've heard of him.
Okay, so he wrote this book called Man's Higher Consciousness. I would recommend you read it. I'd like to hear your reaction to it. Basically, he talks about how the first humans were breatharians, and then gradually, and they lived for thousands and thousands of years, and because of
all right, I know who you're talking about.
Do you know
now.
it? Okay.
And this is something that came from another world, that a different belief system to get us off of the hierarchical system that we all share the common breath. Well, when in fact we are born into water first. I'm not discounting his work. I'm saying that all belief systems that we believe in are true. But right now, in this incarnation, we're born into water, and we breathe water first that comes from the nutrients of our mother in our fetus.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So it is literally an imported belief system to try to rescue people so they could get to the source of life fast. And I have met breatharians that have gone a year without eating any food or drinking any water.
Yeah.
Do they look healthy? No. Have
Yeah.
I seen them look really healthy during that times where they're of high spirit? Yes. It is something that I tell people to try. You have to be very dedicated and disciplined, knowing what fasting is, knowing what foods will trigger you just by smelling them,
Right.
letting go of old programs, and then learning how to walk in focused meditation where you're not burning calories.
Mm.
So the answer is yes, and that is our legacy to get to that.
Right. This is sort of a. Here's another one. You ever heard of urine therapy?
Yes, urine therapy. Well, when you are in the fetus, what are you floating around in?
Urine.
Urine. So I have done quite a few shows with different urine therapists. There are people that say apply it direct to wounds and burns and all sorts of other things. I'm very familiar with it, and it does work. But there are people that are those that are reviled about storing their own urine and then drinking it or applying it to their skin or taking a bath in it.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn about it, learn. But understand that there is a natural taboo to our society that our waste is unacceptable for any observance, when in fact you should be observing your waste because it is telling you what is going on with your body. If your urine tells you if you're acidic or in pH, or if you're letting go of minerals and vitamins, or if you're toxic, or if there's blood in your urine, and the shape of your stool, what's inside it, the color of it all means something.
Yeah.
We were hunter-gatherers. It was the poop that led us to the food.
Right. That's true. The poop in the tracks in the snow.
There you go.
Yeah. That is so true. I had some general questions that people wanted to know, and kind of when are people going to wake up to their enslavement, I guess, and what's going on?
I get that question so frequently. And let's ask. Let me ask you, what does disclosure mean to you now? The Dan that is here right in this moment of a radio show. And how does it affect the world in your expression of how disclosure would come?
Revealing all the secrets, I guess.
Where do you start?
Right?
Who do you offend by starting first? What faction says, no, this is more important?
It becomes political, eh?
And no, it becomes global.
Yeah.
Where all of the cultural taboos of all the different societies come forward. There are some that it said the Vatican and the abuse of the church. There are others that it says it's the banking industry. There are others that it says it's UFOs. There are others that it says it's the global Kabbalists and the Nazis. There are others that it say it's the invaders from outer space, so on and so forth.
Why not just start off with some neutral stuff, like, say urine therapy or things that are not neutral, but that are helpful
because
to man.
Then you'd be curing cancer within weeks.
Yeah.
And cancer is a $50 billion a year industry that's never going to go away. Cancer can be cured with marijuana, consuming it in the juice form, so you don't even get high. But
Right.
since you can't even grow the plant to juice it, you can't cure the cancer. Cancers have dozens of ways of curing themselves that don't even use marijuana if you don't want to use that.
Right.
Cancers, 97% of all people that have had cancers have had vaccines, and those that have had no vaccines don't have cancer.
Interesting.
What does that tell you?
Oh, there's no connection. I don't know how you can make that
Exactly.
claim.
No, we just can't, see the obvious in front of us.
Yes.
That's really what awakening is about, is seeing the obvious in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
What's made it to the mainstream news? GMO corn, GMO food, petrodollars. We need to change the story so that we go, well, I want to know about Monsanto and how they're creating genetically modified food that has killed bees, which has caused millions of people to do what? Buy a new strain of bees from Monsanto. Okay, let's ask the question about our passports and our IDs and why every court case is securitized and monetized in the open market. Why there's a value of $1.8 million branded on every person when you have a live birth certificate, just like a cattle with a foot stamp and everything. The murderous nature of all vaccines. Let's ask those questions. Let's ask about 9/11, 7/7. Let's ask about Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin, so on and so forth.
Yeah, the
So
list goes
every
on.
faction has a demand of truth and doesn't step on the other demands of other truths. So all truths are asked for in a linear, right now format.
So does that mean people will never wake up?
No, it means they will wake up when they learn how to share what it is that they want truth from first.
Oh.
And then to realize that there can be no first of truth. The fraud is global. It'll take time for everyone to understand how deep it went, how old the plan has been. You know, for a simple understanding, if people may want, go into your search and type in Edward Mendelhouse 1913 speech to Congress. And you will read a 12-page speech that spells out the New World Order, securitization, monetization, Federal Reserve notes, the federal families, and he will say direct in front of the live people in 1913, it'll take them 100 years to figure out how bad we've screwed them.
Wow.
Because we will take over the courts. One of our own congressmen. And then 4 years later, we had Mr. Lindbergh come around and started telling the truth of what was being done in the Fed, and then they kidnapped and killed his kid.
Yeah.
And then he disappeared on an airplane.
Right.
They were a little more subtle back then, weren't they, huh?
Right. Now you got the internet, so.
Now you got the internet.
Yeah.
And now we have to learn to get past our cultural taboos, our cultural inconsistencies, and put aside whatever it is that's going on and say, all right, let's get a list of truths and begin demanding this as a common list of the top 100 as a unified group.
My sort of answer to that question is, well, when are you going to start living the life that you know to be right? Instead
exactly.
of
when are you going to start doing that?
Yeah, when are you going to start doing that?
That's the next part of awakening, where you shed off the control and say, it's my life.
Right.
Get out of my energy field. I didn't invite you in here, bill collector.
Yeah.
I didn't invite you here, court case. I didn't invite you here, this, that, whatever. It's my life. You are just ink on paper and have no effect over me.
Right.
I am a manifesting, co-creating being of natural earth. Now it is my life purpose to make sure that we can see that and say something to the system and take our energy back. That is where I've talked about the contract revocations, where you deny this system of domination and control any access to your belief system.
Yeah. It's just at an individual level, people can say, look at my life and how can I make it better? How can I live outside of the system that I know is wrong? Because everybody knows it's wrong. Everybody knows that something is amiss. Even the people who are caught up in it know that there's something wrong. And so how can I change myself? And instead, people say, I want to, they just talk about it in hushed whispers as well.
There you go. But that's that taboo.
And they don't talk about. They don't do anything. They don't act. So once you have something, there's it's that hip hop axiom: act like you know.
Exactly.
And if you know something, well, go ahead and act that out. Otherwise, it's useless.
I call that pontificating philosophers. People that talk and do nothing.
Yes.
People go, well, you're a radio host. Don't you do that? Well, I do. I'm seating an National Court of Tribunal Justice with a private attorney general, a constitutional bounty hunter here in Seattle, with a New Earth Nation in 52 cases that could go right to there. We also have Operation Spitwad. We're going to serve 1 million pieces of paper direct to the court. Yeah, Spitwad. We did this on purpose. All of those judges out there have no oath and no bond are committing felonies. And there's the grand balancer called insurance. No judge can be on any docket if they have 3 outstanding marks for insurance, for felonies. And every single judge, all 3,084 judges and 1,200 federals, can all be served in a single day asking them, where is your oath and where is your bond? And that is a felony. And you simply need multiple sets of notaries to approve your filings, mail it in simultaneously, and then report it to the insurance. And all judges simultaneously cannot sit on the bench. We're at the information age that can be done with a little less than $150,000 in paper filing.
Mm-hmm. Just the amount of knowledge that people need to have, because I don't know that even the people who know things are messed up and know about all the lies and all the stuff, they really don't know how deep it goes.
That's why you got to look into something and go, where do I start?
Right, exactly. And myself, I mean, I'm pretty far down the rabbit hole myself, but I'm not nearly as far as you are. I don't know how deep these things go. And to me, just looking at things has been an eye-opener, just to find out, oh my God, it's worse than I thought.
I'll say this, it is finite. And once you begin to grasp the basic understandings of how the reality works, how they hijacked it, how they've modified it, how they've dumbed us down with mercury in the vaccines called thimerosal, how sodium fluoride, how the cancer drugs, how our foods and hormones has affected us as a conscious species whose natural birthright is to be in unity, how they've separated us with that, how they've kept us away from soul family. There is a finite expression to it. It's all limiting those souls that are going to be here at the end time versus the natural process of its own resolution. It's too many cooks in the pot, and that's what is going on with us. And at the end, you're going to get a soup that's going to taste like pretty much like nastiness, or it may taste like mom's meatloaf. We don't know. It's a chocolate souffle. If you open the oven early, what happens?
It's not. It's a mess.
It's a mess. That's kind of where we are right now. We got to choose if we want to eat the sunken chocolate souffle or bake for a few more hours and hopefully get it right.
Or go out to eat.
Or go out to eat, exactly, and get some more GMO beef and corn and corn syrup with mercury inside it.
It's so hard to buy food anyway because the standards that USDA has are so loose that,
oh God, yeah,
it's like unless you actually know where the food is coming from or you raised it yourself, I'm sorry, what you're eating is probably not organic, is probably GMO, and it's
more than likely GMO.
Yeah.
And if it's beef, it's full of hormones.
Yeah. And so it's like even calling it organic, it doesn't matter. It's like you have to know for sure. And sorry, what?
If you don't know for sure, are you still going to eat it? And what can you do if that's all you have to eat?
Become a breatharian.
Or learn how to create your signature frequency into your food, because we are energy beings and our food is energy also. And we can commune with the steak and go and have a moment with it and going, we're clearing this steak of all negative F energy, all energy that it's been through. And now I'm sharing my life with this steak for the amount of time that it's in my body until I poop it out. It is now going to share my experience in equal exchange for whatever it's gone through. So it can learn through me.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, really. I mean, we live in a holographic universe. There is no matter. Matter is made up of atoms, neutrons,
there is
and
no
electrons.
space between us.
There's no space between us. The illusion of separation is an illusion.
Exactly.
There is no separation.
There never was. But that's the trick between the dream world and the real world.
So, another question from a friend: how did we become so disconnected to one another?
That's a really good question, and I get asked that. How do we become disconnected? It starts at your birth.
Yeah.
Your umbilical cord is severed. You go through a C-section. Your fetus is torn off of you. The tip of your penis is cut off. You're stuck into an umbilical, into an incubator before you're put on your mother's heart. You're bonding to acrylic. You're having your foot stamped. You may not even meet your father right away. That's where it starts.
Right.
And then it gets worse and worse and worse as culture that's just as disconnected with that with 20, 30, or 40 years of age begins to enforce on you its limitations and expectations for you to live within that system of disconnection.
Do you know Janice Barcelo?
Yes, I do. I've interviewed her many times, actually.
Yeah, I've interviewed her a couple times too. Yeah, she talks about the whole birth trauma process.
I do too, and if people want to listen to more of that, they can go to my YouTube page or galactichistorian.com on the archives, and they can see a show I did with Laura Uplinger on conscious birthing, and there's 3 or 4 episodes where we go very in-depth into birth traumas, conscious birthing, special children, autistic children, so on and so forth.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people walking around all traumatized, and they don't even know it.
Don't even know it, and they have no idea how to heal from it once they become aware of it, because it's so ingrained into them. And that's where what I do with the Akashic Records can help people go back to that moment of soul shock, where their blissfully ignorant state was ripped from them into now this shattered state of, oh my God, what do I do? And we're always in DNA reaction, in karmic creation, so that our adrenal glands are now active at all times, and we are in fight or flight. Our sentinels, our spiritual sentinels, are always looking for what's a predator, or is this prey for me? And prey for what? Not necessarily eating, but companionship. Because that's the reptilian side of our DNA, forced companionship. And we need to have no forced companionship when we are sovereign free will beings.
So how do you go about healing somebody from such a trauma?
Well, you got to get them relaxed and get them to open enough to go back to their memories of where the shattered spot was. And I can identify that, usually where it is within a half hour, 20 minutes of the reading. And we go and connect the cords to that energy. And I'll describe what I'm seeing, and if it's a child that's in abuse, or maybe just a big argument in the family where the family just never was the same afterwards. And that particular child was deeply connected, but broken at that point until the family came back together. The Eagles got back together, and that was the Hell Freezes Over tour. So, the kids can be stuck to that, and you got to get back to the original person so they can focus this now life energy on that being going through pain.
Yeah. Sorry, you threw me for a loop. I thought you were going to talk some symbolic thing about some eagles or whatever.
The Eagles in Hell Freezes Over tour, and as the Eagles fly over, it'll be the different speaking entities of Great Spirit interacting with the Eagles in Hotel California.
Yeah.
Because you can check out but never leave.
Oh, right? You can check out anytime you like. All right. And so you're on YouTube. You're if you go to galactichistorian.com, you can find you there. I don't know. I don't have anything else to add. I guess we could go on all night, but these are all the questions I could come up with at the time.
Well, I'm going to turn the tables on you. How about I ask you a question?
Oh, that'd be good.
All right. So when did you find out about how the fraud began to work in our government?
Wow. I don't know. I'm an alien, so it happened pretty early. Well, I knew something was wrong pretty early. It just seemed like I didn't quite fit in. And then I think in the 90s, kind of got some books, maybe some Howard Zinn, Michael Parenti. Got into the Black Muslims, Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan. Actually got a subscription to the Final Call. And got into that whole Black Muslim stuff. But then I figured that was sort of a dead end. And then, I don't know, one thing led to another, and I met a guy who introduced me to David Icke's books, his works. And I read those. So, I don't know, it's been 30 years maybe or so. But I haven't really done anything with it. until
You haven't done
kind
it.
of recently.
You've just sat there with the knowledge.
I've sat here with knowledge. I mean, I've been on the radio, I've talked about it, but that's as far as I've kind of gotten with it because it's overwhelming information and you have to put it into action. And I'm traumatized just like everybody else. So, you know,
Right. So how do you deal with the trauma?
I don't.
You do
I,
radio.
I feel
You
I
do
need
radio.
to.
You made sure that everyone gets a sample of it every time you can go out. You're trying to resolve the ancient karma.
Oh, okay.
So you're active participant in this chess game of how to resolve karma fast, so we all don't blow each other up in a poof of atomic smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to work things out for myself and for everyone else. I mean,
And when we do that as a species, where we look inside ourselves and resolve what is our taboos that we can't look at, we help heal everyone else because it's so much easier to come together and do something.
yeah.
Something truly changing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the 80s when they had those disasters and they tried to do Farm Aid and Live Aid, they discovered that 95% of the money never reached any of those people.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Bob Geldof is a little bit of a crook, so.
Yeah. Well, they're all crooks.
Yeah.
We live in a kleptocracy.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, the charities like United Way. So many scandals about United Way, 9/11 Fund, and other stuff. And yeah, most of the money goes for salaries and overhead, and then what's left is given to the people reluctantly, and not nearly as much.
Right. Operating budgets.
Yes, operating budgets. So they're it's making a profit off people suffering.
There you go.
And
that is an example of perverted karma.
yeah.
What do you think that being that's taking that money, what is their karma? And what is the karma of all the people giving them money?
Oh, you're asking me.
I'm asking you because it relates to that double inverted karmic reincarnation thing from the caller before. That person is taking money from mass people and never giving it, and publicly and the whole time going, send us money and we'll feed the homeless.
Right.
And the whole time you're just employing your best friends in nepotism and not doing anything and having a party with yourself 4 times a year.
Doesn't that impact them negatively?
Oh, yes. It means that they're going to have to come to terms with that when we demand truth. They are our neighbors. All of those judges live in our neighborhoods. What is going to happen when people go, hey, Mr. Judge, why are you putting people in jail with no injured party?
Right.
That's our foundational rule. Why are they infringing on our rights with legislation when it clearly says they cannot infringe on our rights? Clearly. Why are we branded as commerce by the definition in the clauses? Because we are commerce to them. Why are we treated as enemies of the state since 1917 and a war ban has never been lifted from our country since the founding of our country in 1776?
I didn't know that one.
Oh, yeah. How many presidents did we have before Washington? 12.
12?
In 9 years.
Wow.
Because they couldn't come to an agreement of what the Articles of Confederation were. And we came into debt. Debt by the capital bankers, the central bankers of Europe. And then the Europeans sold the debt back to the Queen of England, and she won the war. That's why she holds all of the oaths and all of the bonds. That's why she holds all of the contracts to all of the people in Canada and the United States, so that she has access to their value as a soul, because they are all her serfs and slaves. In her manor role, which is a spiritual reincarnation contract created thousands of years ago when the lineages of kings were first set up to be the hierarchical control systems of domination and control.
I guess to send people off in a happy a happy place, and say it's all within you. You know, you can.
It always is within you. It is
Yeah.
within one thought to change. Attitude is everything. If you can't be by yourself and be happy, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Okay?
There's a lot of people like that.
A lot that are truly angry with themselves.
Yeah.
Stop being angry about the past, live in the moment, let go of the anger, and go, what can I do to help? Maybe I don't have time, and maybe I don't have money, but maybe me volunteering and looking at 25 emails a week and responding to them as a volunteer can help some organization get going. Or me putting out flyers, or me just reposting it on my social network to share a show, or calling up the Brattleboro radio here and suggesting that somebody bring another guest on here at this time, or you figure out some kind of simulcast scenario where multiple independent radio stations all produce something that helps everyone fight GMO food.
Yeah. I remember you mentioned that last episode. Oh, somebody just called. All right, hold on a second.
All right?
VW, would you like to go on the air? Oh, I don't know why. I guess so. Yeah, I'm not sure. Try again. Reboot. Andrew Bartzis is on right now. Yes. You want to go on the air? Okay. Oh. All right, you're on the air, caller. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Leah Sinan.
Where are you calling from?
Miami, Florida.
All right.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. How can I help you?
Yeah, I just was on Facebook and I saw you were having a last-minute show, so I thought, let me call in.
All right.
Okay. So what kind of question did you have?
What's the theme of the show? Actually, I couldn't even see the theme of the show for tonight.
Well, didn't really have a theme, just sort of me asking Andrew questions, and we had some calls, and I kind of do freeform radio, really.
Okay, that's cool.
Did you have a question?
Well, let me see if I can get something off the top of my head. I followed Andrew for a while, so let me see if Andrew could explain more of like DNA lineage. I've had questions about that, about the paradox between being in a family line and then also being in a soul family. Because I think you mentioned once that sometimes you're not born into the soul family, but you have a family lineage. So if you can elaborate more on that?
Earlier in the show, I gave a pretty good explanation of your actual question, but I'll go a little further and help you look at it. Your DNA lineage is technology. There's 7,300,000,000 human beings living here in the world right now. That's the final number of human beings. There used to be 500 trillion human beings. So the lineages store all of the memories of all of the other beings that have lived here previously inside our DNA. And each lifetime that you are born, your memories, along with everyone else's memories, are inside your DNA. And your lifetime is to find out your own memories or to learn from other memories in a shamanic expression, esoteric expression. So you can be born into a DNA lineage and have never existed into it before. That is what the system of the archons is doing, is making sure that soul families aren't in equational spiritual makeups that allow them to co-create out on a vast level, so DNA memories are shared when they're sleeping. Because when soul family members sleep in pods, they can share their dream space and not have to go through the sacred geometry dream worlds or infrastructure created around cities. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah. So, just a bit. Okay, I want to add a little bit more into something about like karma. So resolving issues from your bloodline, and then sometimes resolving issue in your own issue, like your own soul's
Right.
purpose.
You could be born into a DNA lineage that has debt with it. Just by being born into that lineage, you are born with the debt and the belief system of debt that your parents impress onto you in the beginning of life. And it'll be your job to say, no, as a sovereign being, I do not accept the debt of other ancestors who do not even live in this lineage of now. And karma is a choice, both positive and negative. And you need not even have karma as a system of belief so that your sovereign free will expression can have an experience.
I'm afraid we only have 5
Okay.
minutes, caller. Was that it?
All right. Am I up? Is that all my time, or can I have one more question?
If it's short, yeah.
Okay, if you could just hopefully maybe look into my energy and see my karma, just a quick synopsis, that would be really helpful, really nice, actually.
That's not something I can do in the limited amount of time. I'd have to tune in, and that could take a few minutes there. The only thing I can tell you is you should be looking into drawing sacred geometry. That's all I can tune in at this quick moment here.
Okay, that's cool. No, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, caller.
All right, come back.
Have a good day.
All right. Wow, you're really popular.
Yeah, I was able to post this on Facebook like an hour or 2 hours ago, and I remembered to do it.
Excellent. Thank you. So it kind of wraps up our time here, and I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and we should do this again. And
Definitely, you get a hold of me by email, and maybe we can do a show in 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks.
Okay.
I've got a webinar coming up. It's how to free the people from the corrupt courts here in America with Rod Class and Rebecca Clope, the New Earth Nation.
Yeah, I want to check some of that stuff out. I just haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, it's going to be this Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
If you go to adventuresintosovereignty.com, you can sign up there, or you can go to my website and click on the sign up button and get all the updates on when everything is happening. This Friday, I'll be interviewing Rod Class and Rebecca as we do the big lead up into what's going on with the DC gun cases. For people that aren't familiar with that, Rod was illegally charged with gun possession, even though he had a carry concealed weapon, and he wasn't even on him; it was in his car.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look forward to that. Check out his website, galactichistorian.com. Look at his videos on YouTube. They're very interesting. And check out, what was it, New Earth?
Nation.com.
I'm going to definitely...
NewEarthNation.org, sorry.
I'm definitely going to check that one out. Andrew...
It's adventuresintosovereignty.org, not .com, sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. You're not an organization. You're a profit-making vehicle. Yeah. Obscene profits, I'm sure.
No. You'd be surprised what goes right back into making sure that this all works.
Right. But I don't know if you saw my message, but I would like a sort of a session with you, perhaps a reading or something with my... Hey, I just fixed my headphone problem. All right.
Well, maybe we can do an on-air session with you if you want to do it that way, so everyone can hear in. If you want to do something like that,
okay, why not?
If you're up for that, if you're up for community sharing radio,
yeah, I've done worse before. Sure, let it all
right.
hang out.
Yeah, we'll do something.
All right, cool. Well, look forward to getting in touch with your people and my people. We'll connect at some point. Thanks so much, Andrew, and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, take it easy, guys.
All right, bye.